Welcome to Humming Punks with me, Ian Hurst.
And me, Jimmy Watkins.
Each week we're going to be reviewing a different album as selected by our guest with just 3 words. It's a bit of a challenge, it's going to be tough, it's going to be fun, it's going to be random, and there might be the odd swear word.
Yeah, so if there are any children listening, make sure they already know the swear words in advance.
Good advice. Take care, sit back, relax and enjoy. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the next instalment of Humming Punks with me, Ian Hurst.
And me, Jimmy Watkins.
And today, Jimmy, we've got a treat in store. We've got an absolute blinding treat in store. We're joined today by Phil Thornalley. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. Good to be here. And nice to meet you.
Amazing. Now let's tell some people exactly who you are, Phil. Absolutely talented writer, producer, bass guitarist. Who might we have heard you playing bass guitar for, Phil?
Oh, crikey. This all happened a long while ago. I should just say I'm pretty much retired now, but in the past I played with The Cure and I suppose more recently with Bryan Adams. And then and other bands in between, usually producing or writing shit songs for them. Yeah.
Well, you say. Well, hang on, because you say in the past and mostly retired now. But I mean, Pixie Lott's not that long ago. Melanie C can't be that long ago.
The most recent
Ronan
thing I did was I wrote songs with Bryan Adams. So on his records, they're the most recent things, like from a year ago. But I just got out of that. I used to
amazing, isn't it? I
used to do that every day, Monday to Friday. Have a new artist write a song for their record, and for years and years I did that, and then I just really stopped enjoying it. So I started doing my own thing and went back to my kind of roots of just making my own music, which was good for me. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what a phenomenal background there. And obviously one of the other ones that people might know, which I want to mention, Natalie Imbruglia, Torn. Absolutely huge. Were you there? Was that one that you wrote?
I wrote that with my 2 friends Scott and Anne, and I produced the record. And yeah, it was a big moment for me because very early on in my career, I was successful. I was an arrogant, guy that I knew everything, and I did, and I would have, lots of hit records, and then I got to a point where I was just unemployed, cold, as we call it in the music business. I couldn't get work as a musician, as a mixer, as a producer, as a writer, and with that record, which about 20 years old now, but it was phenomenal. And suddenly I went from zero to hero. I had, it was the most fantastic thing to feel, to be part of. The phone, people just calling you up, like the big names, saying, "Oh, we want to write with you." Record companies saying, "Please produce this," and it was just, I was the same guy that nobody wanted to hire. Yeah, but suddenly it was...
Can you remember where it came from?
What's that, sorry?
Where the inspiration for it came from. Can you remember where the inspiration for it came from?
For Torn...
Like you were saying that you were... Yeah.
Well, with that, one of the writers, Anne Previn, we were recording demos for her to try and get a record deal. And this was just one of the songs that we wrote. In this instance, sometimes when you're writing, when you're collaborating, you all chip in on the melody and the lyrics and the chord changes and the track. And in this particular instance, myself and Scott did what would be called now the track, like the chord progressions, a bit of a groove. And Anne came in one day and sang the same chord changes, sang a completely different song. This was on the first day. Second day she came in, she said, "I don't like it. I'm going to sing this." And she said, "It's called Torn." And I said, "Torn? that's not a very good title. And then
they say that about humming punks.
and then it sat basically it sat on a dusty shelf, that song, for 6 years. You know, nobody was really interested in it. And then I got a publishing deal, and the first person to walk through the door was Natalie. So we recorded her singing that, which was the big difference. Her lovely, sweet voice with these angstful lyrics. But suddenly, then she got a record deal, and it just happened so fast. So in the space of 6 months, it was kind of like, nobody wants you, everybody wants you. You know, it was
phenomenal, isn't it?
Really,
well,
good to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. It blows us away. And it's amazing to have such royalty. So thank you so much. There was something that, before we go any further, that Jimmy mentioned to me before you joined us this morning, which I think Jimmy's got to share, about one of your songs, Phil.
Yes. I believe you mixed the first ever single I bought, which was a song called Indian Ocean by the Frank and Walters.
No, you're so young, crikey. Yeah.
1996 in Woolworths in Pontypridd,
Fantastic.
You only bought a song in 1996? Yeah. God, you are young.
14. I was 14.
Yeah.
And I saved up money by cutting all the grass in the street, and I bought that because I think I'd heard John Peel play it.
Yeah.
And I loved how loud one of the guitars was. It was like a real loud chugging rhythm guitar in it. And I just I was obsessed with that, and I went out and I bought the single.
Amazing.
Isn't that funny how with music you're saying, like, there's one particular thing called your imagination, and that's just by chance, I suppose. There's some very funny lads, those guys. You know, they were often, you work on sessions that are full of like angst and everyone's smoking cigarettes back in the 80s, and those guys were just a laugh, you know, and they were talented too, but they were. They called themselves. If you say something like that, so, you know, it's like offensive, and you better chop that bit out anyway, because somebody's gonna.
that song was just had. I remember hearing it, and it just had such a and this was when Blur were big and stuff, and you know, it wasn't really hitting me in the way that song hit me. It was just a strange energy to it. The mix was mad. And I just thought, that's it. Like, and I think I was aware that this is going to be the first single I ever buy. Like, I just knew. And
really?
I went out.
It's special, isn't it?
Yeah. So there we are. It's a strange first one. Most people in Wales buy some.
The first song I bought was Theme from Shaft, which I'm sure even you young guys know that. Yeah. Which was, it was actually sort of instrumental with this very loud wah-wah guitar. So there we go. There we have it.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
And you do know there's a famous guitar player called Wah Wah Watkins. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
No,
I did not know that. Right, I'm writing that down.
Writing it down. Do you know there's a funny thing, Phil? I'm going to interrupt, because we, when we do these podcasts, we talk, although we say we're not a mental health based podcast, we think it's really important to talk about the 5 ways of well-being, really simple things that help an individual with exactly what it says on the tin, their well-being. And we try and intertwine these into the podcast that we're doing. And the first one's connect, and we say, well, that's natural. We're us three here are chatting, and the listeners are enjoying, hopefully, hearing us. We're active, and that comes to Jimmy going for his running and maybe saying to people, go for a walk whilst you're listening to this podcast. We take notice. Now, I'm going to come back to that one in a moment, actually. I'm going to come back to the take notice. But one of the key ones we have is learn. And this is what's so powerful, you know, how we're going to learn so many things through these podcasts, talking to different people like yourself, learning about things that you know and experienced, and guitar players called Wah Wah Watkins. Is that it? No? What a name! What a name!
I need
Jimmy,
another kid. I need another kid.
I was just going to say, Jimmy, you've only just had a kid. You could have known.
Oh, congratulations!
Get back in. Come out again.
Yeah, get back in. So we're going to learn and like give and that. Now, alongside the learning, I said I was going to come back to the be active and a little thing that we do on here with Jimmy, our listeners, and yourself. Now, I'm going to give you an album lyrics from the same year of the album you asked us to review. So we're going back to 1974 today, okay? So I'm going to give you some lyrics from 1974. You've got the duration of this podcast to try and work out what these lyrics are. This is all part of our taking notice, because I'm going to drop clues into this as well throughout the next 25 minutes or so.
Such an unfair game.
I have all the power.
If I hear the lyrics and I know the song straight away, can I call it? Or you say you want me to?
Well, you see, the problem if you do that, I want you to do it at the end, because the problem if you call it, you take all the fun from our listeners and Jimmy, and then Jimmy would be like, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So I'd say, if you know it, because I can see you, give me a little nod. And I'll acknowledge that. I'll acknowledge that you know it, and then we'll pick up the answer.
Because I am a competitor. I am a horrible.
Yeah. Oh, this is what we want.
I'm a horrible competitor,
exactly
so I'm just like if I'm.
Okay,
yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to try and do it so that you can't. That I don't sing it, basically. So this is for you to all mull over. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, I say, of which I'll share with you, yeah? My feet is my only carriage, and so I've got to push on through, but while I'm gone. Do you want me to repeat it?
No, don't repeat it.
I think it's quite a tough one now.
That's
I think
really
it's quite a tough one. But I can guarantee you will know the song. You would have sung the song.
Wow.
Many, many karaokes you'd have sung this song. You would know it, okay? I'm not a horrible man. That's not a clue.
Yeah.
Cornmeal porridge.
Cornmeal porridge, okay?
Oh.
All those wailing kids wanting their porridge, honestly.
Right.
Okay.
Tough one.
So, let's chat a little bit more about the album that you asked us to review. So, tell us what that was, please, Phil.
So, this is a very important album for me. It's by an American artist called Todd Rundgren, who is sort of unknown now, but back in the day was, I guess, what you call an influencer. And this was a double album he had called his Christian name, Todd, Todd. And it was, like you say, released in 74. I probably heard it in about 75. And it was a complete life-changing experience for me personally. For anybody else listening to it, you know, here's a public health warning. I think it's what you might call eclectic. It's the opposite of an Adele record. It's unbalanced in the sense that it goes from one style to another, and I found it very inspirational.
Did you find it inspirational as a producer? Because Jimmy said this earlier when we listened. He was like, "It's an absolute album for producers because it's got that range to it."
I guess at the time, so I was 14 or 15. And I was writing songs then. I'd started playing guitar, a little bit of piano, and had a band with my friends. And so this is the big moment when you're talking about being a producer. I went around to my neighbor's house, Mike Nicito, who ended up in the band Johnny Hayes Jazz, which was before your time, but he and I were best friends, and we used to swap. I'd say, check out these chords, what I've learned from this song, and then the next day he'd go like, have you heard Galveston by Jimmy Webb? These are the chords to that. So it was a very nice kind of exchange of musical ideas. And I went around his house once this day, and they had a kind of, in those days you had like a cassette player and an 8-track, a record player, all in one unit, and they had these big brown headphones. He said, check this out. So I put the headphones on, and I listened to this song, and without sounding too dramatic, my life changed. It was... Yeah. And I don't know if you're ever lucky enough to have that feeling as a kid, you know, just something happens and you... anyway, so I heard this song and I thought, I have got to know how you do this. I've got to know how you produce this sound. Yeah. I've got to know how you write a song like this, how you arrange background vocals like that. I wasn't obviously at the time using this sort of. I didn't have the power to describe it in this way. I'm rationalizing it now, 40 years later. But it was an epiphany. It really was. I went. I've got to know how you do this, and from then on. I think I stopped playing football. I became less interested in girls. I would just sit and play a piano. Like in break times at school, my mates would be going out playing, you know, a pickup game of football, and I'd be in this where the piano lessons took place, which was in these strange kind of garden huts with pianos in, and I would just sit in there and try and teach myself piano. And I was always thinking about, you know, there's a certain kind of sound to that album, not just from production, but the chords that he uses or used then and still uses, which are very rich. I didn't know that. At the time, you know, you usually sit at a piano and everyone sort of knows a C chord, you know, the 3 white notes. But then if you play, for instance, it's sort of a broad description, say if you then play, whilst you're playing that chord, you play another chord of 3 notes next to it. Now you've got a 6-note chord. And it becomes, to me, like the mystery of Mesut Ozil. You know, it's like this... How it creates all this emotion, all this kind of emotional intelligence, and that's what intrigued me.
Love it. That is wow. I mean, a lot of pressure on us for our 3 words each, Jimmy.
Well, you know what? It is. But I'm really glad to hear you say that, because when I first put Todd on, I was like, this is what I was excited about doing this podcast. I was hoping something like this would happen, and for it to happen like now is just amazing. And kind of the whole journey, like just through the album, blew me away. And then I ran to it again this morning. I went for a run in the dark with it on. I went for like a nice hour, and I was just like, this is... I don't even know if I can find my way home. That's what I was thinking. I've gone. I better text my wife. I've left the planet. So... I'm glad, because sometimes when an album changes your life, or you feel it's got that much impact on you, you think, I hope this has happened to somebody else. Do you know what I mean? I hope I haven't fallen for some kind of trick here. I hope this is a genuine,
and this is exactly what you said, though. This is it sounds so simple when we said we're going to review an album in 3 words, but this is what we are. Hummingbirds all about, what Running Punks is all about. By having someone else share with you their album that you've never heard before, you're like, wow, it just shows you how big the world of music is. That you think you know stuff.
Totally.
Like, nah, I don't know anything here.
Yeah. And I think the pressure of having 3 words to sum it up makes you listen to it more.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like we just have a chat about it. You just listen to it and you're like, I listened to it and this is what I thought. It's like, right, really narrow it down. What is this album all about in 3 words? And I was... Well, I've written pages. I've written pages of notes, and I'm
interested. I'm really interested to know how you're going to boil it down to 3 words.
Oh God, Jimmy, do you want to go first?
If you want.
Where were you listening? So you said you listened to it once whilst running, once. When was the other time?
I listened to it at home yesterday on headphones. Just while my 2 kids were screaming in the background, I just ignored them and listened to this. And then I woke up this morning and I thought I need to listen to that while I'm running. So I've listened to it sitting still and moving.
Okay. Hit us with your words. Go. First word.
Okay.
Jimmy likes big words as well. He's a swordsmith of his descriptive word.
No,
I'm very simple. Jimmy's big grand words.
I just know how to use Google. That's the difference. So my first word, right? And I was thinking, is it a bit morbid to put this word in? But I think this topic is approached in a way that I think is quite uplifting. My first word is death.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
But in the way that, can you imagine you could think when you were dead? I think you would have thoughts like in the song Lord Chancellor's Nightmare Song. To me, that's the kind of thing you would think if you had a brain when you were dead. Honestly, it was like, it's not of this world. It's not a dream. It feels more real in a dream. And I don't know, that's my first word.
Okay, we love that. Phil was like, what?
I get
Phil, with your rationale now,
I'd almost forgotten about that song because that's actually a song from an opera. It's not one of his songs, but it's kind of...
No way.
That's really? I guess what you'd call a cover. But it's interesting that you picked that one because it is just... It's pretty nuts. It's pretty indulgent.
I've got that written down as well as my key song to comment on, so it's clearly resonated with all of us.
That's the one where I was running and I just thought, whoa, what's going on here? Like, I need to stop. I need to stop running. My second word is experience. Because there's one lyric in there where he says, it's a dangerous drive, I'm afraid to arrive. And I was like, that's a weird lyric because the drive is dangerous, but in a way you're afraid to arrive, so you don't want the drive to end. And to me, that felt like you're talking about experience there. You're talking about like whatever you're experiencing in your life can feel dangerous, but you don't want it to end. Yeah. So I got experience from it. And it felt like something, say you listened to Todd and you were inspired by it. You couldn't recreate it because I don't think you could experience what he's experienced to make it. Do you know what I mean? It felt really... I don't know. It reminded me of Zappa in a way.
Yeah,
I
it's
never
very
really
Zappa.
liked Zappa. It was like I was a Zappa, but it felt more real than Zappa. Zappa feels a bit like a show sometimes.
It's all surreal stuff. Zappa actually, Todd Rundgren had a band called Utopia, and Frank Zappa just made fun of Todd Rundgren so much so he had an album called The Man from Utopia. Where because it was the similar kind of 70s prog rock. There are some pop tunes, but there are moments where it goes very kind of fusion, I guess you'd say. There's, like electronic fusion, and quite difficult to follow unless you listen to it for 2,000 times like me.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Go on, Jimmy, what's your third word? I want to hear your third.
Yeah, because the pressure's on to get long words in there. So it's proclivity.
Talk us through proclivity.
So initially it was desire.
Sounds like a bioacid.
Initially the word was desire because I was like, there's a lot of richness to it. I kind of want to go on a trips he's going on, so I'm craving this kind of insights into the world. But then I thought, I got to pick out a big word here. So I found proclivity, which is like a tendency to choose to do something regularly. So I felt like the album, it went from, it had like amazing, like tender love songs, and then all of a sudden you have something with real swagger, just that mix. And I just thought, that's him deliberately choosing to do something. Like he's deliberately wants to push, and there's like, there were songs with tempo changes in there, and to me it was like there's a desire there, but then also he's going out of his way to do it deliberately. He's constantly chasing this, pushing boundaries. So
nice.
Those are my three words.
Mate, I love them. Do you know, Phil, what are your thoughts on those three words?
I think Jimmy, with the last comment in particular, that's what I enjoyed about the record when I heard it, that you'd have one song that was almost like a Beach Boys pastiche, and then there'd be another, like a pop song that lasted a minute, and like that Todd had sort of you always get the sense he'd recorded it very, very fast because he's surrounded by really good musicians. So he's like, let's do this. And that tendency to do, okay, I did that. And I guess maybe this is proclivity that I've done that. Now I'm going to do a 5-minute like acid drenched jazz piano thing with a bit of a song in it, and you can imagine the record company going, "Oh, okay, Todd, that's great." You know, like I think that's what the proclivity part. That's what attracted me as a 15-year-old was like, "Oh, you can do this." It's not one song like an Eagles album. One song sounds like the next song, like the next song, like. And I know they're probably Eagles fans, but come on, it's just life is full of. You know, we've been talking about mental health, and life is full of peaks and troughs, and and in some ways,
I don't think.
Yeah, this album is a melange of all these different styles, and it somehow is a bit like life. You know, that's just what life serves up.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that, because I think you've nailed it. I've never heard an album as diverse as this. And that's the I don't think you get that anymore. I don't think you get.
You couldn't make this now.
No. So like my three, I ummed and ahed over my 3 words loads, and what I really wanted to just say was no shit's given.
Yeah.
And that I think links into. He just went, this is mine. This is what I'm doing. Deal with it. And that, I think we've all kind of said the same thing here. Just that freedom to be like, I do what I want when I want. They're not my words, by the way. I wanted to say
not your 3 words,
but it is that kind of vibe. They're not my 3, no. But overall, that's what I was thinking. I was like, do I just say that as my 3 words?
I think to put it in context, which I learned years later, he was the highest paid producer in the world at the time. Wow. So this was almost like not a hobby, but and he'd had hits on an album, two albums before, so the record company would indulge him, and also because he was, you know, in the music business, if you're having hits, people are kind of like, they revere you. And so I guess that gave him the opportunity to have this indulgence that we're kind of, which I enjoyed, and hopefully you're enjoying too. But
I loved it.
I've
listened to it probably 3 times now. First time driving to Plymouth, I had to make a long drive the other week, and I was driving late at night, heavy fog, and torrential rain all in one. And I had this album on, and much like you, Jimmy, it was like, is this real? Is this actually happening to me right now? And I listened to it again this morning. I woke up and my wife was still getting ready, and we put it on, and she went, is that David Bowie? Track 1, the start. And I was like, no, it's not. And then Jimmy had sent me something the other day and mentioned it, and I had to go back, but you were talking about a completely different album, Jimmy. But the sounds of Bowie, that first track, I was like, I get that. But my first word then, psychedelic.
100%.
Psychedelic. Yeah, right. Just like, I think that within seconds hit me when I was driving down a dark country lane. I was like, psychedelic. But what I've had to do with the album, I'm not going to give it any, one word, no more kind of detail. But I've had to split the album into sections for reasons like I couldn't do 3 words that covered the whole album other than psychedelics. My other 2 words are kind of segmented. And more so because of LP's worth of tunes.
Oh, what a song.
Followed by Lord Chancellor, which we've now learned is from an opera. And I hope I cause no offence from this, but when I heard them, it was like an amdram. Yes. I'm using it as one word, like an amateur dramatics kind of like, just doing what, that. So amdram is one of my second words.
You'll find on excuse me, on most of his albums, not so much now, but there was always like a silly song. And an LP's worth of tunes, if you're in the music business, the song is basically saying, what the hell am I doing trying to make a living off of songs? And then subsequent albums, they'll usually be like a change up of style. There'd be a love song, then there'd be a rock song, and then there'd be the silly song. And in fact, one of his silly songs years later, which is called "I Want to Bang on the Drum All Day," which is that's basically how he makes his living now, because that's used, I don't know if it's at baseball stadiums or football stadiums, you know, the type of song they play every time there's a score or a half time.
Really?
Yeah, because it's, you know, the lyric is, I don't want to work, I just want to bang on the drum all day. And it's a 3-chord song, but it's sort of like Helpy's Worth of Tunes. It's the throwaway song from one album that now finances his lifestyle of living in Hawaii. Nice.
It's crazy.
But doesn't it make sense? But when I was listening to it, I got exactly that he sat there saying, what the hell am I doing trying to make a living off of making an album, basically? And so as am-jam as it was, and upbeat and silly and thing, you could think, I actually
you know
hear
what I
he's
think
saying here.
this has made me sorry to butt in, but makes me think of these. I find with contemporary music, most songs like seem to be 4 rather somber piano chords, then a massive beat comes in and the 4 chords stay the same, and the singer's going, my heart, my boyfriend's left me. And no, in the 70s, people were just having, you know, glam rock. You talked about David Bowie. There was a lot of fun, you know, Sweet and Slade. I know they're before your time, but you must know some of the Slade records. They're just
absolutely, yeah.
People just were just being outrageous and. You know, like the a lot of the Christmas songs that come from the 70s. I wish it could be Christmas every day. I mean, it's just nuts. It's someone having fun.
Exactly.
But you don't hear that. I don't hear that in contemporary records. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no,
well,
definitely.
We were saying that the way whilst Jimmy loves his big words, I'm a visualizer. When I hear music, I visualize places, situations, events, and so when I was listening to this, and I didn't use it as a word because I didn't feel it fit, but I was having images of tie-dye, long hair, California. That vibe was just all over me, with people without a real care in the world, just going about life. But with this undercurrent of things happening in the world and things changing, but I couldn't get it in a word. So whilst I was visualising it, I chose not to go with any of those. My third word, electric.
Yeah.
Electric was kind of the closest I could get, either whether it was from the guitar on some of the tracks that you could really hear, the synthesised stuff that was coming through, and I thought electric was kind of the best. The best word I could have. So
they definitely used electricity on that record.
Yeah.
No, I mean in the sense that it's the opposite of organic. Everything is
It's all produced,
everything
isn't it?
is everything is fucked up. Yeah. You know, every sound, a lot of the concepts, and obviously, if we're the album, there's the sense of psychedelic, as you said first, like it's like a trip.
Yeah.
And obviously in the 70s, those kind of peyote and LSD, really, really bad for you.
Yeah.
But
there's an interesting program about LSD on Netflix called The Mind Explained, 20 minutes long. Watch it, anyone. I recommend this. With training that I do around mental health, I mentioned this series, and it talks about LSD in 20 minutes.
Well, they're now studies that are suggesting the original idea of LSD was to help mental health patients, and now they're beginning, after years and years of the what they call SSI, the uptake, the serotonin uptake inhibitors. They're now and that. Treatment for mental health hasn't changed for 40 years, 50 years, because there's not enough. I think that the drug companies can make more money looking at like curing COVID. Well, not that they're making money from it, but and now I was reading a book the other day, and it's not the first time I read this, where they're talking about treating mental health. Obviously, this would be with a doctor or a psychiatrist. It's not an advert to go and take, because nobody knows if you're buying drugs on the street, do they? Nobody knows what's in them. But the idea that going back to the original idea of LSD as this to try and help you kind of give you some context to what's going on. But it opens all your brain. From memory, what they were saying is the amount of our brain that we don't use in day-to-day life is we use a tiny percentage of it. And this LSD, what it was, watch the program, people. Yeah,
but it was kind of saying how it opens up all these other doors within your brain that we currently walk around having them completely closed. But I think, anyway, enough on LSD before we get into grounds that we don't know about. But
we don't. I don't know.
It was certainly for me, that electric kind of vibe, that feeling. When you emailed us this album, you kind of did a 3-word description without, I think, even knowing it. And I remember reading it thinking, wow. And whilst I was trying to do my 3-word, I kept thinking, don't reread the email because it would influence my answers. Can you remember what you said?
I'm sorry, Ian. It was...
No, fine. I'm going to find it because I remember.
That would have been a week ago.
I've not looked at it since.
Short-term memory.
I've deliberately not gone back to it because I didn't want it to do it. But you've described it as tuneful ditties, trippy jazz indulgences, heavy metal pop.
Oh yeah,
a mess.
Yeah.
I was like, and so I remember reading it and thinking, I'm not going back to that because it will influence my thoughts. And that's the first time I've read it since, and I think you summed it up pretty bloody well.
I always, when in my 20s, when I was, you become such a fan of some artists, for years, I would try to introduce like my flatmates. They'd be playing, like you're together for 18 months in a flat, and you hear their music, and I'd be like, yeah, check this out, and everyone would just go like, what the fuck is that? Taking, and so I got used. So whenever I introduce someone to this, I say it's really important. This record, this artist for me, but I know it's and it's not. I'm not like being like, wow, I'm so deep that you're not going to get it. I'm just going. It's really hard work. You got to remember when I heard it, I was 14, and like my mind was, excited by music, and then I heard this, which just seemed to be doing the opposite. And I don't even know if it was the opposite. It intrigued me. It more than intrigued me. It fascinated me. And so I like to warn people, like, if you're going to listen to it, it's sort of better to overhear it. Maybe, like you said, your wife heard it and she said, oh, it sounds a bit like David Bowie. Then maybe if you overhear it, then you go, well, that's pretty weird. But if somebody sits you down and says, like, listen to this, then that's a turn off.
I can only thank you for introducing me to it. I honestly mean that. I think it's been a real experience. I don't know how quickly I'll go back to it. Like, it might not be top of my playlist, but I think to be introduced to it was amazing. Absolutely. And I don't deny that. It was a great album.
I'm gonna run to it again tonight. Definitely.
Definitely. Are you going to do a review on it when you run? Can you do a review?
I might do a running review. Yeah, I might do a running review. And sorry, like, quickly to go back to the album, one thing we haven't really talked about, the lyrics, and some of the lyrics in there are amazing. Like, there's one about thinking about death and getting hard. Like, that was such a weird lyric. But the heavy metal kids, when he says about everybody has got a heavy metal kid inside them kind of thing, that was just such a simple, it works like a great line in a poem. You just think about, he's talking about all these leaders who are ruining the world with the atom bomb, and then you think of, but those people who were destroying the world have got a little heavy metal kid inside them. And I was like, that is just, wow, what, you don't usually think of heavy metal fans like that as hippies and caring, but that's with that little line in that song. I just thought the lyrics are amazing on it as well. So
Absolutely.
I think overall, just what a work of art.
Absolute work of art. Absolute work of art. And you don't get many other albums like that from 74, okay? But I did give you some lyrics. Let's try to think now. I've not been able to give as many clues away.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot about the clues.
Yeah, see, you forgot about this. So I'm going to give you...
I haven't got a clue.
You haven't got a clue, no?
Well, can you give us... Can you drop the clues in again?
Okay, so I gave you a clue about Wailing Kids, or Wailing.
Wailing.
Bob
Marley.
Bob Marley and the Wailers. Okay, so we've got the artist. Do you want me to read the lyrics to you once more?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we know the artist. Okay. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, I say. Of which I'll share with you, yeah?
Is it Redemption Song?
No. No. My feet is only my carriage, and so I've got to push on through.
What?
But while I'm gone...
Buffalo Soul, yeah.
No, let me give you a line before it. You'll get it. Said, I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown.
In the government yard in Trenchtown.
And then Georgie would make the firelight, I say. A log would burning through the night.
No woman, no cry.
Then we would cook. There we go. We got it. No woman, no cry. From Natty Dread of the same year, 1974.
What a great recording.
October 25th, 1974. I like this little game we play. Getting your brains thinking there. It was So it was hard for me to drop that clue in. I wanted to kind of get Bob Marley in somewhere. And I missed it when I was doing my words. I could have got Bob Marley in, but there we go.
Yeah. How about that? A song that I know really well, but I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have all sung that. You'd have all sung it at some point. Karaoke's. No.
I wouldn't have sang a Bob Marley song at karaoke.
No?
Nah.
What is your karaoke song, Jimmy?
Baby One More Time, Britney Spears.
Nice.
Okay. Phil, yours? What's your karaoke song?
I've only ever done. This is going to sound really bad. I've only done. I've stood up in pubs and sung before, but I've only actually done karaoke once, and it was a friend's birthday party, and there were two singers, one of which was James Fox, the Welsh pop star. Do you know him?
Yeah.
He was. The other one was James Bay, international recording artist. None of them was. They all sat there looking very, very meek. Everyone was drunk, and I said, I grabbed the microphone.
What did you sing?
I put on Torn. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I was like, I know
and then when
this
you
one.
finished, I hope you went. Yeah. I hope when you finished, you went. Yeah, I wrote that. And they were like, what?
No, I did. Nothing's fine. I'm torn. Crunk. Just drop the mic.
Yeah,
mic
drop. Boom. I love that. That's got to be the best story ever. Singing your own song.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mine's Deacon Blue Dignity. There you go.
Okay.
You're a very serious man.
Yeah, the man I meet walks down our street working for the council. Has been 20 years. Takes no lip off nobody and litter off the gutter. I could go all day.
Yeah.
Phil, we've done 42 minutes, which I believe in the world of podcasts is pretty much our limit. So all I can say is thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Introducing us to Todd.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I'm ashamed we didn't get to talk more about Jimmy's career and touch on. I thought we were going to be touching more on some mental health stuff, but.
Let's do it.
We can do a part two. Well, wait. Can we keep going? I guess we could just keep going. Yeah. Can we? Let's keep going.
Come on.
Let's do it then. Okay. If you've got time, we've
maybe
got
you should
time.
put it out and see if anybody likes it. You might get people going. This is a shit album. I'm never going to listen to Jimmy's recommendations again. Everybody's career is on the floor, and you're like, damn, that Phil Thornalley. And he keeps insisting we pronounce his name right as well. What a bastard.
Well, no, we all learned something today. I think that's a brilliant one. Well, we can talk more. We could do a part two. We just, it's
Okay, give me one question.
Do you want to talk about Jimmy's career?
I want one question. So you're an 800-meter runner. Did that mean that occasionally you would run like in a relay team, or was that very specific? Like to do 100 meter? Is there a 400-meter relay?
Yeah, there is. There is. The 400-meter relay is actually the reason I started doing 800 meters, because in a 400-meter relay, you don't have to stick in lanes, so it's a lap of the track, and you can all run as a pack, overtake, and I loved that. And I used to be a 400-meter runner, and my coach said, if you love that, you'd love the 800 meters, because after 100 meters, it's 700 meters of all in one lane, pushing each other, elbowing each other, swearing at each other. You love it. It's like rugby without a ball. So,
was there lots of swearing then?
Yeah. Oh my word! I remember this race promoter. I forget his name. I can't remember his name, but I remember him taking me aside once and saying, like, you're doing well at this level, running for Wales. He said, when you get out with the big boys, it's going to blow your mind what it's like on that track. And I was like, what are you on about? Running's running. It's a non-contact sport. And I never forget the first time I ran for Gripper in Florence, in Italy. And after the first 100 metres, I'd cut my finger open because there was a really tall German athlete in front of me, and his stride length was so long, his spikes were kind of towards my face. Yeah. So I was just running, he caught my finger started bleeding, I had an elbow to the ribs, and I
loved it, you rose to it.
This is the best thing ever. Yeah. For like, I was like, for a 5'10" guy from the valleys in Wales.
So you learned all the dirty tricks yourself?
You just run in.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, you run in as fast as you can go. You're absolutely exhausted, and you've got people pushing you. And I was like, this is brilliant. I love it.
When you get to that point where you're like physically at the edge, but you've got another 400 meters to go, and is that real? What happens with your mind then? Are you just going, my body is telling me to stop and breathe, but my mind is so passionate about getting to the end?
Yeah,
what goes on?
It's a funny one, because like, no matter how much you trained, you could only run 500 meters until you started hitting the wall. Like, no matter how much you trained, your body can't do more than 500 meters at that kind of speed until you start feeling it.
Yeah.
So it really became a case of, in training, preparing yourself mentally for the pain of the final 300, 200 meters.
Yes.
And I think when it came to the race, you just had to think about the basics. You had to, once that happened to you, you had to just think, move my legs, move my arms, breathe. You had to just strip any fear of the pain away. You had to just deal with all that in training.
Right.
So, and like I used to wonder, like, am I the only runner on the start line who's already scared about hitting that 500 meters? I know it's coming, you know. And you look around and you think, at the end of the day, we're all pretty much over 400 meters. We're all pretty much the same speed. Like from someone who only runs in a heat of the Olympics to the win of the Olympics, you're all pretty much over 400 meters. You'd be the same speed.
Yeah.
It'd be like a second in it. It's how you can get to 500 meters and how you can just deal with it whilst thinking about tactics going on, and how you can get to that finish line. And it was a real lesson in just stripping everything down and just thinking about the basics, like pump your legs, pump your arms.
Actually, when you were saying that, I was thinking like the mental health thing. When I was in my valley, the idea of like just breathe and move your arms. Like I had to, it made me think of that. I've just been like dead everywhere else, and just like the race is gonna end, but it's gonna take months or years or whatever. But like that thought of like knowing that you can get to the end, even though it's going to be painful. That's fascinating. Did you have a sports psychologist?
I did actually, for the last season we had, and she had an amazing name for sports psychologist. I never forget it. Her name was Joy Bringer.
Joy Bringer. She was the Joy Bringer.
Yeah, and I was like, this is amazing. This is amazing. Nice. And she helped me a lot with dealing with, like, sometimes I would almost defeat myself before the race, because I'd be on the start line, and if you just look over your shoulder, I was like, that is where the pain starts. In a lap and a bit time. That's
not even worrying about the other competitors. You're going,
no.
Wow.
Yeah. And she really taught me how, like, running, at the end of the day, like, you can train as much as you want, you can have all the advice you want, but at the end of the day, the winner is often the person who can just run with a clear mind at the end.
Because I was going to say, as an athlete, and I guess, is there ever a moment like when you're running and you think you can see how close success is? But you can't physically, like, so I always imagine when you're watching the race and you've got the winner, everyone's watching the winner, everyone's watching the guy go through or the guy or girl go through, but the 2 or 3 behind, in those moments in time, their minds must be, I just can't get there, I can't do it, and I'm so close and I want to. That must be such a weird feeling, essentially watching defeat in front of you and not being able to do anything about it.
Well, when I ran in the final of the World Champs, with 100, with 100.
This is why we don't go on to these topics.
But with 150
credit
meters,
to you, credit to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, with 150 meters to go, I was in the lead, and I remember just having like that. It only lasted for maybe 2 or 3 seconds, but honestly, it felt like a lifetime because I was in the lead. I started thinking about my PE teachers in school, like how happy they're going to be when I win this. I started thinking about like I'm going to buy a Lotus when I win this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the next thing you know, everyone's gone past you and you come last, and it happens so like it happens so quick, but at the same time, your brain, it seems to be like something that goes on forever.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, this is genuine now. If I find someone who loves track and field running, I'm always amazed because for me, the real drama in athletics is what's going on in the competitor's head. As a spectator watching it, I'm like, why are you in? I don't understand why you're enjoying this because it just looks like guys running at about the same speed. Yeah. I'm like, the real drama is in your, like, what you're thinking about when you're running. If you could find a way so we could hear what runners are thinking, amazing. You'd be like, this is mad, this is wild. He's in the lead and he's thinking about mashed potatoes.
I was going to say that. Is it better to go to a place of comfort when you're hitting that final 300 wall to try and just keep the arms pumping, keep the legs pumping, and think about mashed potato? I don't know.
You didn't have a song, a go-to song, you know, like a chorus, like Indian Ocean, or you were...
Yeah, Indian Ocean was definitely one of them. I used to... This is a weird one. I learned to play, when I was really young, All Things Must Pass by George Harrison on an acoustic.
Yeah. Oh, a lovely song, yeah.
And I used to think about how the chords kind of dissolve. Like when you're playing it, how George Harrison had these little chords that kind of like just like it goes to a G and then it just dissolves. I used to think about that, and I used to think like my technique is falling apart, and I used to think weird things like I'm no longer running in a major chord, but let's just get over the line in like a minor. Like I felt in terms of that like I'm falling apart, but what I'm doing is still making sense. And I used to think, things like that a lot. An awful lot.
Isn't it funny how you did just fall out of love with it when it became that? Yeah, I think you remember you saying you missed running in like woods and stuff and just being off track.
Yeah, I did. I mean, after I did the World Championships, it became really serious, and it was like, this is your job now. Like, you're a full-time athlete, and you would travel around Europe, or you race in a different country every weekend, and you're on your own. And I'm just like the kind of guy, I struggle being on my own. I struggle because I'll just pick up a book, and I was finding that mentally I was getting softer because I was like reading more, I was listening to more music, and I was just like, these are nice thoughts. I just want to stay with these thoughts. I didn't want to go on the track and get that mental toughness back. I wanted to just dream and think, and that's when I really struggled. And I was warming up for a race in Holland, and I was running around the woods next to the track, and I just thought, I don't want to leave the woods and go on the track. I just want to keep on jogging around here. This is where I'm enjoying my running.
How did you do in that run? In that race, did you compete still? Did you leave the woods and went and competed?
No, I went to the track.
You didn't just go, where's Jimmy?
But looking back at that, would you say that, because you obviously had talent, the record shows you had talent, but if you're running in the woods having these, I don't want to do this anymore, was that because you wanted to do music, or because do you think you're like somewhere in the back of your head, in your psyche, was saying this is destroying you, or something dramatic that was pulling you back from, or was the voice telling you I don't want to do this anymore? Actually, do you look back and go like I regret that? I
do regret it. But it was it was a strange time to run because it was the only running I was aware of was running on a track. I wasn't really aware of like running now. You've got the ultramarathons, you've got lots of road races. I think if that was as big a thing as it is now, I would have gone, maybe running on the road is for me, maybe ultramarathons are where I should be doing it. But it was like, you just brought up, if you're fast, you run on the track, and you run until you're 30, and then you become an ex-athlete. And I remember just thinking, I'm kind of losing my personality for a sport that I've probably got 5 years left in if I'm lucky. And one of the things I'm really excited about now is that I'm 38 now, and last year I ran 10 kilometers faster than I ever have in my life. And I'm just thinking, I got maybe 10, 15 years of running ahead of me now that I'm doing running on the road and stuff. So I just I wish I could just say to that 24-year-old version, look, if you're not enjoying a track, running is good for you. Just run elsewhere. It's a different type of running, and I do regret it.
Yeah, I certainly when I used to sort of train, well, as a keen amateur. And I'm thinking about it now. There's a place a mile away called Hampstead Heath, and when it gets muddy, you could go around the same course, but it would be different every day, depending on the weather. Maybe in summer, all the hills would be dry, but it was so challenging. It makes it so much more fun. And I can imagine if you're going around a track, it's a different city, a different country, but you're going around a track, and you're probably looking across. I was just going to say, you're looking across at the other 7 people going, yeah, I like him. He's a wanker, and
It is funny, that, isn't it? It's when you put it like that. It's but it's even the same if you're going for a run as you said, as an amateur, just to have a different route. I go running in the mornings. I go a different route, even slightly different. But I tell you what's interesting, when you do a route and you do it backwards, that throws you, doesn't it?
Oh,
why does that throw someone so much? You think, I just did my bit. Whoa, hang on, this is all out of sync. I can't do it this way. But that's the ultimate mix-up.
So, how much do you run then, Phil?
Well, I used to run when, even when I was working hard in the music business, I got into it, and I always I was decent at cross country at school. I would win that, and then I suppose in my 30s, before we had kids, I really got into half marathons, and before there were magazines telling you what you should do and you shouldn't do, I used to run like 10K 5 days a week, just because no fartlek or mixing it up, or just do 20 minutes but do it fast. It was just 1 hour, and I just try and but I really enjoyed that part of it where I mentioned very early on where you'd go into this kind of Zen, kind of figure out your problems. And the good thing about I found with lockdown is you can't go to a gym, so I cycle a lot now, and and you're outdoors for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and it clears your mind, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it was funny. I was saying to or Jimmy knows this. So I had a back op about 3-4 years ago now.
Wow, that was serious.
I had discs removed, and I loved running. I was my claim to fame. I reckon I could have had you in my day, Jimmy. I did a 10K in 44 minutes once. What was yours the other day?
34.
Unbelievable.
I'm the fastest man I know, and you've just done it in 34 minutes. Oh my God.
With a GoPro in my hand, listening to I filmed myself running into dead Kennedys, rotten fruit for vegetables.
I love it. That's hurt my chest. Anyway, I enjoyed running.
Yeah.
Then shut up, Jimmy, all your 34 minutes.
Filming myself. 34 minutes jogging.
But I used to like running. I love running. I had my back up and I couldn't run anymore. My wife carried on running and my friends still ran. But I told myself in my head that I couldn't, that the impact of running was going to provoke my back and was going to hurt my back. And so I just didn't. I didn't for over 3 years, and then for some bizarre reason, I guess maybe like you said, because the gyms have shut, so I'd still go to the gym and do stuff which people to try and replace the running. And then Christmas Day this year, for some reason I woke up and thought I'm going to go for a jog round the block, literally round the block. I'm just going to jog around the block, maybe because I want to eat all the food today. And I ran and I didn't have any pain. And I was like, that's interesting. So I ran again Boxing Day, again, probably because I wanted all the food, just to gain a mile. and no pain. And I left it a couple of days. I thought, this is interesting because I've sold myself the story that I'm going to be in pain, and I'm not. So in January, and again, partly to work on my mental health and make sure I was doing something, I ran every day in January. Not for anyone, not for anything. I just made sure that every day I got up and I'd either do a short loop, 15 minutes, 1.8 miles around the block, and then I'd do a 5K. And then I'd do a couple of 5Ks. And then the next day I'd just do a mile and a half again. And then I'd do another. And I think I ended January, I ran 31 days, a total of 82 miles, did 2 10Ks, 4 5Ks, and a few other bits.
Wow.
And my back hasn't hurt at all. And you just realise how much you put excuses in front of you, put barriers in front of you, tell yourself what you think you want to hear.
But surely your consultant probably said, had probably said quite sensibly, listen, your running days are probably going to be behind you. And there was probably, maybe 9 out of 10 people that had the surgery that you had, that would be solid gold advice. It'd be like, I'm sorry, you can't do that anymore. But that's a great story.
It's exactly that. Yeah, do you know what? Funny enough, I did it for my own kind of sanity, I think, because it is easy at the moment just to sit in. And this month, ironically, in the month of February, I'm not having any chocolate, sweets, cakes or biscuits. I'm really challenging my mind to see if I can, how much I can overcome things. I love all of that lovely stuff. Yeah. And I want to overcome it all.
Yeah, but one of the things I found was like, life became easier in a way when you let your body make the decisions instead of your mind. Like, honestly, it was like I knew I had to sort my diet out. I knew I particularly had to sort my drinking out. And the same mind that decided to drink was the same mind that said, you shouldn't drink. But as soon as my body started feeling good, it was as if like, oh, look, I'm feeling really good physically. Yeah. I don't want to do those things anymore because they make me feel like crap. Yeah. And it was when my body kind of took over all the thinking, I was like, this is easy now. This is easy. Like, I haven't drunk for over a year. My diet is okay. And it's all because my body feels good. My body was like, look, I'm in charge now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Give me the steering wheel. You've made all the wrong choices so far.
But all those, I'm sure that those running habits you picked up when you were probably at school, when your talent became evident. And now, because you've obviously... like that's a special talent that you have, and now you remembered it, and I think that's it's like for me when I pick up a bass, sometimes I just go like, and in fact, particularly 10 years ago when I had a really really horrible spell, and I picked up a guitar. Or a bass, and I couldn't believe how good I was. I was like, how do I know how to do this? Yeah, like I had no concept of. And then of course that leads you back into the joy of, bring some joy back into your life. But
that's interesting because I found the opposite for me now. So when I pick up a guitar, I realise how much hard work it is. Like how hard it is for me to play an instrument compared to running, and then I just think, you idiot, like you swapped the guitar for running, thinking it was the right thing to do.
But you're happier now, aren't you? But you are. We laughed, don't we? We laughed when we chat before. You're happier now than you were then, I think, generally, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's because I appreciate running now, and I know what it's really for. It's not for competition. It's not. It's not to do something for anybody else. Like, it's not to make your parents happy. It's not to make your coach happy. Running is for you. Yeah. And I probably wouldn't have known that if I just stuck at athletics.
Yes,
I think athletics and running are two different things. I appreciate running for what it is now.
That sounds like a pretty wise thing, athletics and running, because it's the same as music. There's like music and the music business are two completely different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. So athletics would be like the music business side of running. Yeah, it's the business side of it. It's the
Whenever I've done Q&As with like students, and you have to kind of accentuate the fact that music, we love writing, we love playing, we love talking about it, but it's called the music business. music, business. And if you want to do the business bit, then it's not easy. And unless you've, unless you're ready to grit your teeth and get through the last 500, 300 meters or wherever it is. That's what it's a lifetime of maybe not that dramatic, but there's certainly going to be moments where you're going like, fuck. It's just
the story of life completely there, isn't it? The last 300 meters. Maybe that should be the episode name of this podcast, The Last 300 meters. Listen, I am going to have to wrap it up now. I know we would love to, but we must call it an end, otherwise we'll have everyone shouting us. But
it's been lovely chatting to the pair of you.
Yeah, I'm sure we could do a second one and talk 100%. More without any doubt. So
another Todd album.
Another without another. Yes,
I wouldn't put you
Todd
through
album.
that, guys.
we don't mind, honestly. All that's left to really say is Phil, thank you so much for
my pleasure
for being with us today. It's been a real joy. Please, guys, listening to this, if you've enjoyed it, pass it on, recommend it, subscribe, do all those amazing things that you need to do to make sure you join us again. And from us, thank you so much, and have a great week, everybody. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.
Good luck with the edit, Carl.
Hello, that was fun, wasn't it? With Phil Thornalley.
Phil Thornalley, yes.
Phil Thornalley. Oh, mate, I mean, wouldn't you love to just smash out karaoke, Natalie Imbruglia, drop the mic? Yeah, I'll get that.
I co-wrote that. I can't believe that song was on the shelf for so long as well.
I know. You just wouldn't. Unbelievable how these things happen, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, that song could easily have not existed. Because it was just on the shelf. I love that song. I really do.
I know. And a top bloke, isn't he? Such a good guy.
Amazing.
Such good. The Cure. Bryan Adams. I don't quite know what's just happened there.
Podcast royalty.
We've had some amazing guests.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's some serious quality there, isn't it?
That is some seriously strong fabric there. If you're going to make a suit out of Phil Thornalley, it will never go thin.
Never go thin.
He has seriously got some credentials.
Such a great guy. And he loved chatting to you about your running.
I know, I was surprised about that. I was ready to wrap it up. I needed a pee and everything.
Listeners by now are like, they've gone way over, but we had that, right?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. It was almost as if he pressed the red button and we just went into bonus territory, didn't we?
Talking about running. I wonder what you're going to say then. Yeah, we did definitely just go into bonus territory. Amazing though. What a nice guy. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot. It was good. So should we do this again next week?
Send me a Zoom invite and if I find it, I'll be there.
See you later, buddy. Peace and love.
Mate. Love you, bye.
Bye.
You lucky people have been listening to the Humming Punks podcast, produced by myself, Carl, and sponsored by Shure.